Hi, Brian with PWR, and today we're going to go over the assembly of the dually. First step to getting this bike put together is going to be opening up the box. So here we go. What you want to do is you want to slide open the tabs on the front of the box. And then from there, go ahead and open the box up. Next, you want to take out the small parts box and the battery. All right, so you have your small parts box now. You want to go in here and take out all the tools that come in here. You'll see you have some pedals, as well as some other tools. Go ahead and grab your tools, and you're going to put those aside. So the tools that you receive is a Phillips head screwdriver, an S-shaped Allen key, and then an L-shaped Allen key. Put these aside and we'll use these as we start putting the bike together. All right, so the next thing we want to do is get this bike out of the box. You'll notice that everything's kind of tied together here on the inside, so you'll want to grab the rear wheel and you want to grab it up by the front fork. You go ahead and pick that up out of the box, and then we'll go on from there. And that's what that's going to look like. All right, so what you're going to need is a set of cable clippers here. You can use regular scissors if you don't have cable clippers. And then we're going to go ahead and cut up all the zip ties off of the bike right now. All right, so what we did here is we put the fork onto the edge of the bike. This will stabilize the bike as you're getting it put together and taking off the rest of the packaging. We're going to go ahead and put our handlebars on now. To do this, you want to use the L-shaped Allen key that came in your small parts box. So we want to take off the 4 bolts that hold the faceplate to the stem on. And you'll have to remove these all the way because the faceplate has to come off completely in order to put the handlebars on. Okay, so now you have the faceplate and your 4 bolts. Go ahead and you're going to take your handlebars out of the foam packaging. Foam packaging can just get tossed to the side there. Put the handlebar into the stem and go ahead and start putting your bolts back into the faceplate. At this point, you don't need to position the handlebars. We'll do that later once we get everything kind of cinched down a little bit, and we'll dial in how we want to position our brake levers and our display and all of that stuff after we get the bolts in place. And take your time here. You want to make sure that the bolts are seating properly. They should spin in very easily. If you're getting resistance, that means you're cross-threading it, which you don't want to do. That will cause it to strip out either the bolt or the stem, and we don't want that to happen on either piece. So once you get all 4 bolts back in the faceplate, we'll go ahead and start tightening things down evenly. You don't just want to crank down on one bolt. You kind of want to go across all 4 of them and put even pressure and tension on the bolts as you're tightening it down. Once you get them cinched down a little bit, then you can roll the bars to the position that's going to be comfortable for you. Don't worry about where the shifters or the brake levers are at this point, because we can adjust those after you get the bar at the right angle that you want to have for riding. After you get that position set up, just go ahead and tighten these 4 bolts down. So you'll see you have a cable assembly here after you put your handlebars in. You have an orange, red, and a purple. Then you'll notice off the handlebars you'll have an orange, a red for the front brake, and also a red for the rear brake. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and plug these in. We're going to put the rear brake into the purple. We'll put the front brake into the red, and plug the orange into the throttle. So that's going to be your throttle cable. So what we're going to do now is we'll go ahead and remove the rest of the protective packaging off of the bike frame. This is just held on with some tape. You'll probably just use your hands to pop this off. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the pedals on the bike. You're going to need the pedals from your small part box. You're going to need some bicycle grease, and you're also going to need a pedal wrench. Now be sure each pedal is marked left and right. Make sure that you are putting the correct pedal on the correct side of the bike. If not, you could cross thread the crank arms, and then you would have to get a new set of crank arms for the bike. So we'll start with the left pedal. We're going to put a small amount of grease onto the pedal threads, and then we'll go ahead and start threading that in. It should thread in freely and easily without any resistance whatsoever. If you're getting resistance, then you're cross-threading it. And then we'll do the same thing for the right pedal. While you have your grease out, now would be a good time to grease the seat post on the bike. We do this to prevent corrosion, make sure that the seat post doesn't ever bond to the seat tube of the bike. So what you want to do, put a little bit of grease on your seat post, and you can work that in with your finger. Once you have that grease on the whole post, just go ahead and slide that back in and push down and tighten your quick release lever as so. You might have to put a little more tension on the quick release lever, but you can do that in the final setup when you're setting your saddle height. So now we're going to install the battery. You have your battery box that came in the larger box. Go ahead and take your battery out of there. And what you want to do is you'll go ahead, you'll see there's two sides to the battery. One has kind of teeth down here, and the other end's kind of recessed up at the top. So this is going to be the top section, that's going to be the lower section. Go ahead, just kind of line up the bottom section, feel the teeth insert into there, and then just go ahead and place that down, and it automatically locks into place, and now you're all set to go. So at this point we're going to put on our front wheel. We're going to take the bike out of the bike box, and we'll get the front wheel on after that. The handlebars and stems are still going to be loose. You're going to want to make sure that the crown of the fork, or the arch of the fork, is facing forward. You'll see that your brake cable is still unattached, and then you also have another connector down here that hasn't been attached. This is going to connect to the motor on the front hub. So now we get our front wheel. We'll take off these end caps that are on here. With the front wheel, you'll notice that there are 4 washers, 2 on each side of the axle. One is a flat washer. The other one has kind of flat, but then it's notched. You want to make sure that that notch is facing down towards the ground, because that notch is going to sit inside of the fork drop out there. So you want to loosen up your nuts here, and then you'll slide both washers out to the end of those nuts. Make sure that your rotor is on the same side as your brake caliper, and then we'll go ahead and put the front wheel in. Hand tighten those down, and then we'll use a 19mm wrench to tighten them fully. So the next thing we want to do is we want to connect the cable for the front hub motor to the controller system. So you're going to want to snip the zip tie that's holding this cable to the front wheel, and then you'll run this back up along the back side of the fork. You remove the clear cap, and then you'll plug in, aligning the 2 arrows that are on each of the connectors. Once you get that connected, you'll want to secure that with a zip tie to the fork leg. So now we're going to go ahead and connect the brake cable. What you want to do, you slide that ball head into the brake lever there, and then there's a channel on the bottom of the brake lever. You'll pull the cable into there, and then you'll see there's channels on the bottom of the barrel adjusters. You want to line that up with the channel on the bottom of the brake lever, and then pull and seat the ferrule into the barrel adjuster. So first we're going to tighten down the compression nut on the top. You want to make that snug, but not so that it's binding. The next thing we want to do is take a look and make sure that our handlebars are straight and centered over the front wheel. Once everything's lined up, you can go ahead and cinch down your clamping bolts on your stem. These are going to be the 2 that are on the back side of the stem. Go ahead and tighten those down, putting even pressure. You don't want to do one all at once and then do the other one. You want to kind of clamp them down evenly. Once those are snug, you can go ahead and double check your faceplate bolts again, making sure those are secure. So now that your dually is fully assembled, the only thing left to do is to inflate the tires to the recommended PSI. Once you do that, you can head on over to powerbike.com and you can check out our quick start guide on how to run through the displays and the controllers on this bike, and then you'll be ready to hit the trails.